Welcome to the Alabama Aquarium at the Dauphin Island Sea Lab. My name is Mendel Graver. I am one of the educators here at the lab. And today we are going to chat with Dr. Patterson about One Health, which is an integration of human health, ecosystem health, animal health, so the ways that these aspects are interesting. So we're particularly going to talk about ocean health. So with that, I'm going to let her tell you a little bit.
Okay, that is really loud. Move it down. Okay, I'm Heather, as she just mentioned, and I got my Ph.D. actually here at the Dauphin Island Sea Lab over 10 years ago. And I've been working up at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, which is the northern part of the state. And this summer, I've been working with the Carmichael Lab, which are some researchers here, along with the director, Dr. Valentine, because they're interested in bringing a Ocean One Health Institute to Dauphin Island. And we're going to talk about that as we go through this presentation today. So I know you guys mentioned that you're from Texas and Arkansas already, because that was going to be my next question, but we already answered that. So let's move on to, what do you think about when you hear the term One Health?
What do you think?
When I say the term One Health, what do you think of? There's no wrong answers.
Think about being healthy.
Fruits and vegetables, and sunshine, water.
So yeah, so I heard some things about human health there. It's about eating healthy and stuff like that. Anyone else?
Ecosystem.
So she mentioned ecosystem. Okay, so what scientists talk about, and they acknowledge that indigenous and First Nations people have been doing this for a long time because they actually live that way of life. But they're really interested in this intersection. So we know the vet community got really interested in the 1980s and 1990s because animal health, there's zoonosis that can pass from animals to people and back and forth. So things like rabies, you get bit by a dog, you're getting sick like that. But obviously there's more to that, but that's when it first started evolving. We didn't hear the term ocean health until 2004. That's when the term Ocean One Health actually came out. And so now, as we mentioned before, we have humans, we have the ecosystem, and we have animals. And today we're going to talk about how they're all interrelated, how important they are. And so that's going to include things like antibiotic resistance, climate change. All these things are all related to both us, the oceans, and animals, food safety, biodiversity loss, zoonotics. Once again, I said getting sick from diseases that animals have. That occurs in the ocean too. So we're going to talk about ocean health today because we're here at the ocean. So why do you think the ocean is important? Give me some reasons. Why is the ocean important to you?
That's where we get some food.
So yes, food is a big one that people think about. Food. What's some others?
Weather.
Right, the weather, and I'm also going to add long-term weather of climate with that, because they go together. What are some others?
Those see things come from the ocean.
Yeah, they're trying to teach you about the ocean.
Yeah, today we're learning about why the ocean matters to you. Why do you care about it?
Gives us some place to play on vacation.
So yeah, so recreation and tourism, which also relate to jobs, are really important. Travel. So yeah, travel, and I'm going to put transportation because a lot of shipped goods actually come on the ocean. And then the one that a lot of times people might not think about, we're going to have gas exchange. You're going to have O2 and CO2 that are really important. Okay, so why are these important? So food. Why is ocean food important? Do you like eating? You like lobster? No? But did you know that ice cream contains stuff from the ocean? So seaweeds have a product then there's alginates, and those make up a lot of things that we need to thicken. So things you can find in your toothpaste, you can find in an ice cream. So the ocean gives us food and a lot of other products, which are really important. Okay, so you mentioned the weather and climate. So the ocean is really important because it can absorb a lot of heat, and so it moves that heat around the world, and that's what creates local weather and then long-term climate. And so without the ocean functioning properly, we would have a lot of breakdown in those issues. And then when it comes to recreation and tourism, like you're here today. And so going to the beach is something that a lot of people like to do. In addition, a lot of times people talk about how the beach is really relaxing and it's good for mental health as well. In Alabama, I forget how many jobs we look, there are 28,000 jobs that are related to the ocean economy, and across the U.S. is 1.7 million. So this is a really big part of the importance of the ocean. Transportation, as I mentioned, 80 to 90% of global trade happens through the ocean. So that is where we're getting it. Gas exchange, so 50 to 90% of all oxygen actually comes from the ocean.
Can you take a deep breath? What is filling up your chest when you take a deep breath? Have you ever blown into a balloon? Mm-hmm. Yeah? What are you blowing into the balloon?
Yeah, well, air, and a lot of us oxygen. So the ocean is really responsible for giving us oxygen. Everything's of trees, but actually it's plants growing in the ocean called algae that are really important for that. And then it can absorb a lot of the CO2 that we produce, and then take that in, and then actually it gets buried in sediment, so it can actually remove carbon from the system, which is important. And then I also wanted to mention with this jobs and recreation, here in Alabama, it contributes $25 billion to the GDP. So the whole industry of the ocean economy. So it's a really important thing for many, many reasons. However, there are harms that are happening to these things. So what are some things that cause harm to the ocean food supply? Yes. So unfortunately, yes, you mentioned overfishing, and then you said, hey, this transportation we have, it's impacting, our food supply because of the pollution that comes from that. Unfortunately, ships use bunker fuel, which is the worst type of fuel you can use when it comes to emissions. And then what are some harms to the weather or climate? Yeah, so those emissions we talked about create greenhouse gases, and I can't write today. And that's going to impact your weather and climate. If you shut down this exchange because it gets too warm, we're not going to actually have the temperature that we're used to having in all the places. England gets warmer because of the ocean. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask if you've ever gotten into a really hot car in the summertime. You've ever gotten in a really hot car?
Yeah.
So when the sun comes down, it can go through the glass in the car and it heats up the car. But then it changes. The sunlight will change when it goes through the glass, and then it can't go back out. So it can go in but not out. And so that is the same kind of effect that is happening for the whole Earth. So
those greenhouse gases make a layer around the Earth, and it lets the heat not be able to get out, because it can't happen. And so then it gets warmer, and then these services and goods that the ocean gives us. So have you ever gone to the beach and it's much cooler right by the shoreline than like when you're like inland? Like everyone goes to the beach when it's hot out. And that's because the ocean is providing a cooling effect. And so if we don't have that, there's going to be problems. Obviously, what are some threats to our money making here?
Pollution.
Yeah, so all of these things that we're talking about affect obviously all of them because they're all interchanged. But pollution, overfishing, if we have habitat loss, people aren't going to come to the beach if there's no beach. then you're not going to have recreation, you're not going to have all of these things. And one big thing with this O2 and CO2 thing is you may have heard of ocean acidification. And so what happens when the CO2 goes into the ocean can only take so much before the pH changes. So the ocean's not really getting like acidic, like it's not getting like, I'm gonna get burned, but it's changing the pH, and what that does is all of your shelled organisms, so your corals, you know those pretty corals? You guys ever had like oysters or clams? Yeah, well they can't make that shell if the pH changes. And so the pH actually drops, and that's because of the CO2. So there's a lot of things that humans do to these goods and services that we need. And so what the Sea Lab is trying to do is to establish a center here, because there's not a lot of research on the Gulf Coast. There's not a lot of funding organizations working on that. And the Sea Lab wants to become this center for One Health, One Ocean research. And some of the things that they're interested in doing is it's not just the research that they're already doing. So they're already collecting data on toxins and zoonotics and all these sort of things that we know are important. But they want to become a center so that people can come and learn. So we can have clinicians come and work with scientists. We can have the public come and work with scientists. They want to be this place that people can come on the Gulf Coast and learn about this, about why the ocean is important and what is going on. They're interested in also knowing what people think. So when I was asking you, what have you heard about One Health? A lot of people have never heard that term before, and that term means different things depending upon where you're from. A vet might think something differently than, me, a scientist. So they're really interested in understanding what people know and don't know. And so by establishing a center here, it'd be really a good place for all this research to happen. And then you can think about all these jobs we talked about. Well, this is an area that we can develop new jobs, and the Sea Lab can be responsible for that.
So, I'm kind of, maybe speculating a little bit about you all not being from the coast. Clearly, you are visiting the coast, so there's something appealing to you about the coast. But, there may be a lot of people who just feel like, well, those issues are very far from where we live, and, it's nice to go to the beach, but we can go to the mountains instead, or, I like to eat seafood, but, if there's no more seafood, I can eat other things. But, it is a more intrinsic part of your lives than, a lot of people may realize, even if they never visit the coast, even if they don't like to eat seafood. So, the health of the ocean will impact everyone who lives on Earth, even if you don't feel like you have much of a direct connection with it. So this is one of the other, kind of education efforts is to kind of help people understand how they are affected by the health of the ocean, even if they don't feel like they're directly connected. Yeah.
So what are some things you think you can do? So obviously, hopefully you've seen the ocean's important, and there's some not so great things happening to it. So what do you think you can do to help with that? Because it's something, I told you what the Sea Lab wants to do, but we all can help with this. What are some things that you think you can do?
We tried really hard to bring a trash bag to the beach and pick up all the trash that we made. We made a lot of trash at the beach yesterday.
Yes, unfortunately not everyone is...
You can't leave your trash on the beach.
You don't worry about it.
Why can't you leave trash on the beach?
Yeah.
Because if they tried to eat it, if they thought it was
Why is it going back like a jellyfish?
Yeah, to the sea turtles.
They eat it and they can't get it out.
Yeah, so there's this is kind of an area of emerging research. There's still a lot of unanswered questions. Because as plastic breaks down, have you ever picked up plastic outside that had been outside for a little while? If it was a plastic bag and it was crumbling a little bit, and it kind of like crumbles into smaller pieces. But even as it breaks down and it breaks into smaller and smaller pieces, then it may become food for smaller animals. And so it still then enters the food chain. So a little animal in the ocean might eat some of these tiny little pieces of plastic, and then a bigger animal may eat that animal, and so then that plastic is entering the food chain. So we talked about food and impacts to our, our food supply. So there are questions about how these microplastics may be entering our food supply and even human tissue. So there have been recent studies that have shown that these plastics are starting to enter our bodies, not just in our stomachs. So that's a little alarming. And they can also, there are common chemicals in plastics that can be hormone disruptors. So they can potentially impact, some of our body processes.
So yeah, that's a good thing. And so as we're talking about plastics, do you ever use a reusable water bottle instead of buying, So that's one easy thing that everyone can do. You can just use a reusable water bottle. People also like to say don't use straws, but I have a friend that, because she has a mouth condition, if you dump things down your drain, even if you live far, far away, it actually ends up in the ocean. So we want to be really careful what we dump down our drains and our storm drains, because all waterways, which we're not covering up, but all waterways, this is on the watershed for Mobile Bay here, all waterways lead to the ocean. So whatever we dump in, up here, I live way up there, it'll get dumped into the ocean. So we have to, those are things that we can easily do. And then also, by you guys all being here today, I teach at UAB, as I mentioned, and education is the biggest thing. I think that if people don't know about something, then they don't, know to know about it. And so by being here today, that's actually the best thing you could do. So you're learning, you're getting to go play at the beach, and then learn why the beach is important to you. So that is my main part that I had to talk about today. Does anyone have any questions?
Do you have any questions?
Reagan, do you have any questions? Do y'all have water bottles? Do you have a water bottle that you carry around? Water bottle. I have kids, and I'm always telling
You
them.
can put these stickers on your water bottle.
What do you say?
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's only.
And these are supposed to be vinyl, so they should stick to they're supposed to. I don't know. I printed them and cut them, but I'm going to give those to Alexia. So yeah, so hopefully when you come back to visit again, and we'll eventually be developing this center more, and there'll be even more things to see and do down here.
What has been your favorite thing to do down here?
Reagan, tell her what your favorite thing to do at the beach is.
What's your favorite thing so far?
Besides the jellyfish, you didn't like it?
Definitely the pool.
The pool.
Do you like the fishies?
Is that because the water's clear that you like the pool water? Yeah, some people don't like that they can't see. When I did my degree down here, I got to dive in Mobile Bay all the time, and literally you couldn't.
A little murky.
Yeah, but that's true. That is true. But I always like to point out that along with all that sediment or those tannins that are flowing down through the river system, we also have a lot of nutrients. So that feeds our food chain here, and so it makes it really,
That you're getting offshore.
really abundant, a place of abundance. The marine plants. What's your favorite part of it?
Build sandcastles? Very good.
Oh, fun.
Well, y'all must have been swimming in the ocean if you found a jellyfish. It was too salty? Huh.
Your eyes, is that what it was? Yeah.
She drank like a half gallon of salt.
Yes, you do.
She
Thanks
just
for
takes it straight up, takes
in
it,
the way. Yeah?
spits out, and
Did you like the waves? Did you like splashing?
Yeah, we pushed through the waves.
Did you see little fishies? Sometimes there's little fishies on the
Yeah, but why do jellyfish look like straight white?
Why does this look like what?
Why do jellyfish look like jelly?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, jellyfish are really simple animals. So they have cells and they've got tissue, but they're very simple. So they don't have, they
They're
don't
meant
have.
to go with the current, so a jellyfish can't actually go against the current like even a fish can. You can swim against the current. It might be hard, but jellyfish can't, so they have to float, and they actually just move with the current. And so actually that's how they get their food too.
And they don't try to stay. They
No.
A sharp one.
Yeah, and that's, you know why they have those stinging cells?
Why?
So, like, would you want a fish eating you?
No.
So do you think you can protect yourself, like, by stinging? Because, like, even fish, their lips are really sensitive. So, not that fish are eating jellyfish, but, there's some species that do feed on, but they wouldn't want to get eaten. So that's their defense.
It's also how they get their food. Their animals eat, so.
Well,
But you're right, and that's a good perspective that they're not,
Empty, so they're not being mean.
yeah, they're not trying to get you. They just kind of automatically sting things that brush up against their tentacles.
So there are some that can catch little fish with those stinging cells. They actually use it, and they can actually, there's some species that catch little fish and eat them. So they're eating them.
Did y'all find some shells?
Did you find any shirt ties?
Did you?
Right. Looking.
me and my cousins, it basically happened because there was so many jellyfish.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was coming from the water, so it just
Yeah.
against my knee.
Well, they encouraged us to go learn about the ocean. So should we go explore the aquarium? Maybe try to learn about the ocean.
So I know there's some jellyfish in one of the tanks.
Oh, you want to go touch the jellyfish?
No, but there's the rays you can go touch. They're my favorite part
There's a
of
pink
the
jelly-
sea lab.
Well, y'all enjoy your visit.
Turtle.
Thank you.
I saw a pink turtle.
Thank you.
What do y'all say? They'll say thank you?
Amelia, go say thank you.
Thank y'all.